not really worth it. Discounting your item significantly and paying the $500 or $300, whatever it is on your category.
Yep. All right, guys, so we're going to start in about 1 minute. Got a ton of people in here today. Set another record for webinar attendance, which is awesome. There'll be a replay of this as well. So if there's anything in here that you have questions about or whatever you want to review it again, there'll be a replay of it. And we'll also have an open Q&A at the end. So any questions you have about anything we're talking about here, we're happy to take all your questions. We're shooting for the webinar part of this to take about 30 minutes, and then we'll save about 30 minutes for your questions. But it always takes longer than we expect.
I was going to say, if Mike says 30 minutes for the webinar, that means just pencil in 2 hours, guys. We should be good.
I have a lot to say. Nobody wants to talk to me. I get lonely. Yeah. Come talk to my ecom crew peeps.
I'm here anytime you want.
Oh, shucks. Dusty says he's good for 2 hours. All right. Let me share my screen. Microsoft PowerPoint. Why do I have two? Let me just close PowerPoint and make sure I have the right, because there was two different. You had sent me a different version, Dave, so let me make sure I have the newest one here.
Make sure you have the new and improved version.
All right, that should be it.
There we go.
Is there like one slide that will make it obvious?
For where to start?
No, like to make sure it's updated.
This should be fine. The updates weren't that.
It's right. It's right. I know it's right.
It's not actually, but
it isn't.
The slide order is a little bit off, but that's fine.
Okay, weird.
We'll try the other one.
It is the newest one. I think you didn't save it correctly when you sent it to me.
Oh, it's impossible, but that's fine. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit of slide order, so I can adjust on the fly.
Bruce is asking, is it okay for Ecom Crew Premium members to ask questions? Of course. You get. You guys also have your open Q&A tomorrow too for Ecom Crew Premium. So feel free to ask if you got anything today, Bruce. It's urgent. Happy to help, and let everybody here know how much you love Premium. Help us sell Premium. He's our plant, our Ecom Crew Premium plant, but not really. And if you have any questions, it's best to put them in the Q&A. It makes it easier for us to keep track of them. All right, Dave, take it away.
Sure. So guys, the way Zoom works, only one of us can control the PowerPoint. So I'm going to annoyingly tell Mike to skip through to the next slide every time. So just bear with us on that regard. But without further ado, we can get things started. So Mike, next slide. Okay, so the first thing we should talk about, this is a webinar on ranking. A lot of what people do is when they're trying to figure out how they're ranking, they use a tool like Helium 10. They plug their keywords in and they rank and they figure out what their whole number is that they rank for. So they'll be selling a garlic press and they know that they rank number 24th for the term garlic press. Well, the first thing before we can get this webinar started is that you need to be aware of what does it mean if your blah, blah, blah number ranking for a keyword. And what I'm getting at is that Amazon has almost half a dozen different views for search items, depending on the device, the keyword, the category, and some other variables. So if you're trying to rank for a keyword, what you really need to do at a bare minimum is go on a desktop, because most people do most of their buying on a desktop still. Go on a desktop, search for your keyword, and figure out what search results view are you getting for your item. So on this slide, you can see there's three different search views here. There's a 24-item view, a 30-item gallery view, a 20-item list view. Basically, Amazon goes all the way from 20 items on a page to 48 items on a page. So if you're number 47th ranked item, well, that could be great. You could be on page 1 if it's a 48 item per view search results view. But if you're on a smaller view, then 47 is going to be really insignificant. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. How does Amazon rank items? Well, Amazon has done us a great favor through the Amazon Advertising API. This is an API that Amazon released, I believe, last year. Basically, it allows you to kind of manage your advertising campaigns. But what this API did is give us a lot of great things, including actual keyword data that you can get through different tools, but it also gave us a definition of how they rank items. So Amazon ranks items on the following criteria: how often a keyword appears in the description, where the keyword appears, the ranking's higher when keywords are found in titles, and if there are multiple keywords, how closely they occur in descriptions, and how often customers purchase the products they found using the keyword. So in other words, Mike, next slide. High rankings equals relevancy plus conversion. And if anybody's selling on Amazon here, you probably kind of know that the secret to rankings is, number one, you have to be relevant. You have to be Amazon, you have to be within indexed for a certain keyword by Amazon, and you actually have to be selling products when people search for those keywords. So I'll get into, and this is kind of the crux of the presentation. We're going to dive into what both relevancy and conversion means and how you can excel at both of them. Okay, so next slide, Mike. Okay, so the first thing you need to determine is, are you relevant for a certain keyword? And there's a couple things that you need to be aware of here. So Amazon is indexing you based on keywords. You're not being indexed for every single keyword in the universe. And the way to figure out if you're being indexed for a particular keyword is, this is an old hack. In the search bar, take the ASIN of the product that you're selling, add a plus symbol, and add the keyword that you're trying to rank for. And if you're being indexed for it, if you're being deemed relevant, Amazon will return a nice little page like this saying, okay, yep, here's your item when you search for that ASIN plus the word garlic. So no matter what keyword you're using, or what keyword you're trying to rank for and what product you're trying to rank, just do this little hack, see if you're even being indexed. Because if you're not being indexed, you can never have a good ranking. It's kind of like the old Google SEO strategy. If you're trying to rank your website and you're not even indexed by Google, if you're not even in Google's within their search ecosystem, you're never going to be able to rank well. The same thing goes for Amazon. If you're not being indexed for a particular keyword, then you can never rank well. Now, we know a couple things through some of these leaked reports that have come out of Amazon. So if you're not aware, Amazon has a lot of employees in China. China is a fairly corrupt country still. So what's happening is that basically sellers are bribing these employees in Amazon to leak them both private company information and also some of their competitor information. And what you see here on the slide, this is a leaked report from Amazon. Somebody bribed Amazon to get basically a search results page for the word, for a particular product, a tactical flashlight. So just to explain what you're seeing on this page here, this is an internal report from Amazon for this particular tactical flashlight product being sold on Amazon. And what it's showing us here is Amazon is tracking per keyword, number one, the percentage of the probability that somebody will actually click through to that product when they search for a particular word. So on the very row number 2 there, TC 1200 tactical flashlight, when somebody searches for that search term, Amazon has determined 42.79% of the time somebody will click through to that listing.
And that's high because it's an actual like model number.
Yes, it's a branded term.
People are going to want to click through that when they're looking at for that specifically.
They're also tracking how often somebody goes on to purchase that item, and they're going on to track also how often somebody adds that item to the cart. Now, something interesting, kind of a side note here, is that Amazon places a lot of importance on actually adding an item to a cart, not necessarily purchasing it. We can debate why they value that, but that's also one way that people are gaming the system a little bit, is just simply doing a lot of add to carts and add to wish lists, because Amazon seems to consider that as a high ranking factor. But the big takeaway from the slide is that Amazon's tracking relevancy and conversion on a keyword level, not on a product level necessarily. It's mostly on a keyword level. So you can obviously have an extremely high conversion rate for one keyword and have an extremely low conversion rate for another keyword, but Amazon is mostly considering these independent of one another. Okay, Mike, so going on to the next slide.
Can I just make one more comment about this?
Yeah, absolutely.
The next slide. So I think the thing that's like the really important takeaway here is, and we're going to go over some of this stuff in some of the other slides, but while this slide's up, rechargeable flashlight, as a for instance, this thing has add to cart and a purchase conversion rate of 7%. If you're listings at 6%, you will not rank past them. Like, I mean, you need to have a higher add to cart or a higher conversion rate in order to outrank them. Like, this is 85% plus of the algorithm. There's some other stuff that does matter. So like, if all things being equal, if you're both at 7%, there are some other things that matter, and we'll talk about some of those, but it just shows you visually here. You can see it. Like, I mean, if you're, and Dave's going to go through some of this, or maybe it's in my part, but there's ways to get this information, but you absolutely have zero chance if you cannot get your conversion rate up. So it's all about, and we're going to talk about some ways to do that, but I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not, if you're below par for conversion rate, not even below par, but below the top 10, it's going to be a very tough time to increase your rankings and beat the people who have a conversion rate beating you. It kind of makes sense. I mean, Amazon's a retail website and they want more sales. So Mike's going to talk about conversion rates, how to get your conversion rates up. What I'm going to talk about here for a couple of minutes is how to make sure that you're at least being indexed and at least being relevant. So Mike, you can click through the next slide here. Okay. Sorry, actually, previous one. Okay. So Amazon mentioned in their actual definition of relevancy that keyword location really matters. And again, this is only for relevancy, but Amazon, all things equal, if you're trying to rank for a keyword term like flashlight high intensity, then you want your keywords and your product description to be closer together rather than further apart. And this kind of, again, makes intuitive sense. But review your product descriptions to see if you're actually doing this. So I've given a couple examples here of bad ways to basically keyword stuff in a description and good ways to do it. You want your keywords, any key phrase you're going after, to be closer together rather than further apart. So again, that's kind of common sense, but actually review your descriptions. Make sure that you're not just randomly keyword stuffing. Make sure that they're closer together. And also you want them to appear closer to the beginning of the product description than later on it. So make it in paragraph 1, don't make it in paragraph 10. Okay. So the honeymoon period, people have called this different things, the honeymoon period, the hall pass period. This Amazon's never confirmed this, but it's most high volume sellers almost all agree that this exists. So the honeymoon period is basically for the 30 days that you make a listing go live. For the first 30 days of that listing, Amazon's going to give you a bit of a hall pass. And they're going to basically index your items far easier than they will after that first 30 days. And they're going to look at basically on-page data more than they are conversion rate data. And that makes sense, because if you have a new item being sold on Amazon, well, you have no sales. So according to Amazon's algorithm, if it was simply conversions plus relevancy, well, you're never going to have any conversions for a new item, so you can never rank. And obviously that goes contrary to what Amazon wants. They do want to give new items a little bit of an opportunity to rank. So in the first 30 days that you make an item go live, you are going to get basically a free pass, and they're going to look at the keywords on your item a lot more favorably than simply conversion rate data. And why this matters is that in the first month that you're launching a product, you want to make sure that you're using that first month to its maximum potential, and do not put, for lack of better words, a shitty listing up from day one and then, hey, I'll get to it later on and make it better maybe a couple weeks from now. No, the day that you go live with the listing, it needs to be perfect, because you're going to get the benefit of the doubt from Amazon. You're going to get an opportunity to rank for keywords that you may not get to later with minimal conversions. So a couple things you can do. Don't make your listing go live until it's actually right, ready, and perfect. The other thing you can do is there's a start selling date within when you upload a product, and you can actually say, hey, don't start selling this item until 6 months down the road. And you can actually pick a date. So put a date in there when you're actually going to get the items in stock. Don't put it up before you even have the items in stock. So just don't make your listings go live until you have the item ready to sell and that listing is perfect. Otherwise, you're just burning through that honeymoon period and getting nothing for it.
Yeah, I mean, we learned this the hard way. When we first started selling stuff on Amazon, especially as we were developing stuff in kind of like rapid fire, we just throw the thing up in kind of a skeleton format and worry about getting it right later. And what ends up happening is once this honeymoon period's over, Amazon uses a rolling moving average. And if you're a math person, a statistics person, you'll know that if there's let's say a 90-day moving average, that it will take a significant amount of time before you start moving the needle at all. So you can't do any type of like 1 week push to try to like make improvements. It makes it much more difficult to get out of the basement after the fact. So now when we launch stuff, we try to make it as perfect as we possibly can from day one, as Dave was saying. And I mean, you can stress about this. You can get a little bit too off the deep end and never get your product launched because you're putting too much effort in. So I wouldn't go off that end of the scale, but I definitely would be on the end of the scale where your listing is like 97% perfect or something as best you can. Put all the effort into it. And it's interesting because people put so much effort into the product. You know, you'll put months of effort in developing the product and getting the packaging just right and all the words on the packaging right and put a ton of money, you know, sometimes 5 or 6 figures into launching a new product and then fall short on putting a great listing out. I think that's the part you probably want to actually end up spending more time on than anything. So I just wanted to kind of mention that because we've fallen into that trap, and I can tell you from firsthand experience what a pain in the rump it is to get out of that.
Yeah, and another thing, just mentioning with the honeymoon period too, that's where a lot of product, if you do launch a product and you just don't have it perfectly optimized and you're not getting any traction, sometimes simply relaunching it under a new ASIN, new barcode, yeah, it's a pain. But sometimes that is the magic trick to getting an item to rank better. And you can have the exact same item, and if you burn through that honeymoon period, well, just restart, re-upload it again under a new ASIN, and you may see dramatically different results.
Yep.
Okay, product categories. Now, the old trick in the old Amazon world was to put your item in a totally irrelevant category. So put your garlic press in some really obscure category, and all you need to do is sell 5 items a month, and you're going to have the bestseller garlic press in the whatever obscure category it is that you're trying to game. That is not a great idea in today's Amazon world because Amazon heavily looks upon product categories when they're deciding what to index you for keywords. So just a little firsthand experience, we were selling a tent, and this tent actually goes on the back of a vehicle, and we had 2 choices. Okay, we can either put this in the automotive category or we can put it in the tent category. This tent, we put it in the automotive category. It could not rank at all for any search term with the word tent in it, just because Amazon's deemed that, hey, we're only going to let products rank for the word tent that are in the category of tents. And that kind of makes intuitive sense. All we did was simply switch the category, and all of a sudden we're being indexed for the word tent, and our sales skyrocketed. And I know Mike's experienced this too, I think with some of their books where they can't rank for the keyword book, anything outside of the books category, and it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So
we do it for a different reason because it's not there's a final value fee on books, which is $1.80 on top of everything else, which is very significant. It basically makes a 22% commission total for us. So we tried doing this, and then now we can't rank as well. So it's
and that's what we're doing
if we don't.
With the tent too. That's why I had it on the automotive category, because automotive has a 12% referral commission instead of 15. Well, that sucks paying 3% more, but if you're not selling any items, it's better to pay 3% more and at least be indexed for our main keywords.
Yep. So, Amazon's not dumb.
Yeah. So don't try to game the category system. There's still a lot of material. They're trying to tell people, hey, just put your item in a really terrible category and you'll get a good BSR. Don't do it. Keyword research. So this is one that you kind of need to do before you even launch a product. So keyword research, like I mentioned with the Amazon advertising API, you can get actual real world keyword volume through a bunch of different tools out there. Volumetrics.io is one of them. You'll get real actual volume for keywords used on Amazon on a monthly basis. Amazon is probably going to close this loophole. If they haven't already, they're going to close it very soon. So make sure you get some of this keyword data while you can, because eventually it will go away, almost certainly. But either way, when you're doing this keyword research, what you really want to do is research keywords before you launch a product, ideally. Because, for example, again, using the garlic press example, if you're trying to rank for the word stainless steel garlic press, well, if you don't have a stainless steel garlic press, you can't rank for it. You're probably not going to ever rank for it because nobody looking for a stainless steel garlic press is going to buy your plastic garlic press. So what I like to do is I like to do all my keyword research before launching a product, look for these long tail keywords, and then actually make a product around these long tail keywords. So instead of importing a plastic garlic press like everybody else, import a stainless steel garlic press. Because what's going to happen is then you're going to catch the long tail and get the stainless steel garlic press searches, and you're also going to get the higher volume, broader keyword garlic press. So that's what I like to do. Just simply do your keyword research before actually launching a product. It's way better than doing it after the fact, because Amazon's going to look at conversion rate data after that honeymoon period much more deeply than they are relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is actually one of the most important things that I've learned from selling on Amazon is going after some of these long tail. You have a much better chance of ranking for garlic press stainless steel or stainless steel garlic press, as Dave was saying, than trying to rank for garlic press. I mean, it looks very sexy. You see this like huge number there, 35,189, but it's a hyper competitive field and very difficult. So if you have something that's unique, you know, some offshoot of the main thing that isn't as popular, like, again, like most of them are made out of plastic, they're junk, you're going to have a much better chance of actually ranking for these longer tail keywords. And over time, because you're converting well with the long tail, I found that I can eventually rank for the higher volume term. But if you just come at it with a generic product trying to rank for the big main term, it's basically impossible.
And the other thing we know also from these leaked reports from Amazon is that Amazon's conversion rate per keyword search is around 25%. So of those 1,140 people searching for garlic press stainless steel, 25% of them are actually going to buy the garlic press. So, I mean, that's huge.
Yep.
So even small numbers mean a lot. All right, Mike, this is on to you. And Mike, well, I'll hand it over to Mike and he'll talk about how to kind of get your conversion rates higher for your products. The second magical part of the ranking equation.
Yeah. So as we were mentioning earlier, I mean, conversions is by far and away the bulk of the algorithm. There was another leak that came out that showed specifically how the A9 algorithm worked and everything that goes into it, and add to carts and purchases is seriously like 85%. There's other things that matter, like your review rate and return rate and outside traffic and a couple of these other things that, again, all things being equal, do matter, but the bulk of it is conversions, and that's what you should be focusing on. So what can you be doing to get your conversions up are some of the things we're going to talk about. But first, how do you even find this information? I use Sellic so that information is provided through Sellic, but you can also download a report through Amazon's backend. It's a business report, and then you do the detailed page sales and traffic report. And this session percentage number here is your conversion rate. And I mean, these numbers are insane. You know, if you're thinking about your own Shopify store, if anybody that's on this webinar has a Shopify store, like a 2 to 4% conversion rate's really, really good. On Amazon, the bulk of our products are over 20%. At least the stuff that's successful, the things that we're doing that do well. And Dave and I were comparing notes at one point, and I mean, some of this stuff was nuts. We had like one product that was like at 65%. Conversion rate. So it's like literally 2/3 of the people that look at the product just buy it. It's nutty. So what you can glean is if you download these reports and you're looking at in your back end, if you have numbers that are under 10%, you've got problems. Like you need to be working on some of those stuff we're going to be talking about and correct some of those issues in order to even have a chance at ranking. Again, this is by far and away the most important thing when it comes to ranking. Something in the 10 to 19% range, I think, is in a lot of categories is acceptable. Again, it depends on the products, but again, all of our successful products are over 20%, every single one of them. So that's what you want to be aiming for, is to try to get above a 20% conversion rate. And Amazon gives you the data, so you know specifically how you're doing, and you can do this by a date range and everything, and see if you're improving, et cetera. Some other things that are really interesting. There's some data that came out about groups of listings, throughout all the different keywords that rank, and people, what it turns out is that they're price sensitive. The number one thing that they're looking at on Amazon is price. And obviously that's more for commoditized products. We have some things that buck this trend. We have some products that are more expensive than the competition, but they do quite well. But typically it's because they're unique and different. There's something that they're getting for their money. But if you're selling commoditized Me Too type products, again, all things being equal, price is the number one factor that people are looking at. So on average, through all of Amazon, the listings that are ranking 1 through 3 are 20% cheaper than their counterparts that are ranking through the other positions. And you can see even in the top 20, it requires that, price is still a factor. And then, when you probably get to page 2, those items are just priced higher and they're having a harder time competing and getting the conversion rates. Again, conversion rates being the most important thing. So one of the tricks that we've done is start with a lower price and slowly inch up. That's definitely helped. So you can get the rankings and then do some price elasticity testing and seeing if you can keep your rankings. And if it starts to fall back down, you can lower your price and see where that sweet spot is. But when we launch products, we typically try to do it cheaper than what our final price is going to be. Getting reviews, should you be doing white hat or black hat stuff? I mean, this is a struggle because the bottom line is the more reviews that you have, the better your product's going to convert. If you have 0 reviews, people probably are not going to want to be the first one to buy your product. If you have under 10 reviews, it's more difficult. But what I found is that the reviews become the law of diminishing returns once you get past 10 or 20, something in that range. It's cool to have 1,000 reviews on some of our products that we have, but I don't know that makes that much difference compared to some of the things that we have that have fewer reviews. We see success with our newer products that have 20 to 50 reviews. We've chosen a completely white hat review approach, which is to not even email customers after the fact asking for a review. Then the other side of the coin is you can email them 3 times and run Facebook ads to people who have bought the product and email them, or do all kinds of crazy things trying to circumvent Amazon's rules about this. But the reality is that they seem to be cracking down about it and even throttling reviews and got some new policies out. So we've been erring on the side of caution and relying on the early reviewer program and just trying to make a legitimately better product that wows people. That our products, I believe, get reviewed at a higher rate, percentage of sales wise than other products because they are better. They have that wow factor.
Yeah, and the one thing that you should do immediately is enroll every new product in the early reviewer program. It's $60 for 5 reviews. Yeah. They come in slowly, but when they do come in, and it's a great way to get your first 5 reviews for basically free.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely well worth it. The number one thing here is the photography. This has to be the question that comes up the most in Ecom Crew Premium is, can you review my listing? And over 90% of the time, my suggestion always is you got to work on the photography. And we typically, what I'll do is I'll search for other products in the same category to give people an example. And as a part of Ecom Crew Premium, we even have some templates that help with this. But my little spiel about this is people are buying online. They cannot talk to you. This is not a retail environment where they can go in and look and touch and feel the product or ask questions to a salesperson. The person's making a shopping decision in isolation. And the only thing that they really have as a window into the world of your product is the photography. And the better job you can do with this, the better your conversion rate is going to be. And we've really been putting a ton of effort into this, and it is a lot of work, but it is definitely making a big difference. Like our sales on the products that we refine continue to go up. It's amazing. Here's kind of an example of an infographic that's done. These guys have done a pretty good job. This is just one example that Dave pulled down where they're showing the product with the packaging and some call outs, some lines to different features and functionality of this particular exercise ball. I mean, this is so necessary when you're talking about a commoditized product like this. There's thousands of other sellers online selling the same exact product, but the guy with the better photography is going to win. And some of the other stuff that's on here, infographics, lifestyle photos are really important. The images here are really small, but you can see this person's out at the beach or something, and also video has helped quite a bit as well. Specific specifications and things like that. If you have a sizing chart or things of that nature, that it makes a big difference. But really putting the effort, full on onslaught into photography, or it's not even photography anymore. It's photography plus or whatever you want to call it, is incredibly important.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people, I think that's the biggest mistake that people make is they simply have all the products on a white background. Yep. They don't use infographics, lifestyle shots, any of that. And yeah, in today's world, it's just not enough to get ahead on Amazon.
One of the examples that we use, it's a part of our free stuff. So if you haven't gone to ecomcrew.com/free, we have some courses over there. And there's an example I can remember specifically showing a wrist ice wrap product that we had taken really good photography. We hired a professional to come out here and take some awesome photographs of our products on a white background. They looked really great. I was really proud of what we had done. And over the time was selling on Amazon and talking to various people and seeing other examples like this, we decided to do a redo and add this type of stuff. And our conversion rate literally doubled, like not exaggerating. We went from just under 10% to just over 20% conversion rate. And of course, over the next 60 days, it does take some time again because of the rolling moving average over time. Once we kind of got past that hump, our rankings shot up and so did our sales. And that was the first taste of this that we got. And then from there, now we put all this effort into doing this. It's tough because we have hundreds of listings and we're trying to go back and do them all at that same level. So it is hard to go back and do it. But if you're just getting started and have 5 products, it's definitely a project you can get done over the next couple of months. One thing that's really interesting is enhanced brand content. I was actually surprised by this stat, but I'm also not surprised. But basically, what it's showing here is that enhanced brand content is making very little difference. The stats are kind of interesting. And again, I've kind of seen the same thing ourselves, is that we put all this extra effort into enhanced brand content and weren't really seeing the needle move much. But I can tell you for the listings that we've added videos to, it's made a massive difference. So putting the effort into creating product videos is definitely worth it. We've used a combination to begin with like Animoto to do it for free. Then I took it upon myself to learn Final Cut and started making my own videos through that. But we're also pretty blessed that we have a team in the Philippines that does this for us. And they put together some ridiculously great videos for our products that look like they've come from a professional marketing agency. People will watch a video. They don't read. Yeah. But they'll watch a video. They'll watch your minute or 90-second video about your product, and they'll answer all their questions and get them excited and make them want to hit that buy button. That's what you want to do. It's really important.
Yeah, and I think the takeaway there is if you're going to spend some time doing anything, spend it on your video, not the A+ content. So the A+ content is just those fancy imagery that you have in the product description. It replaces the product description. If you can spend time anywhere, do it on the video. Also, Carol had asked earlier whether EBC is indexed, and A+ content is not indexed. So it'll take the product descriptions, and that's the part that'll be indexed. We'll replace the product description, but that's the part that's being indexed.
Okay, so the next thing here is the title, which is really important. So, I mean, like the thing that's the most important, right, is your main image and your title, because those are the only things that people see when they type in a search. So this is the most important thing to get right, is you got to get your click-through rate higher so you can get people on your listing. Then you can worry about the conversion rate as a second step to that. So again, back to the photography, having a really good main image. We use Splitly to test this now and work on getting our click-through rate up to get more people on our page so we can get our conversion rate up after that. But the other thing that's really important is the title. You're writing these titles for someone who's searching for these products. You are not writing the title for a search engine. If you write the title for a search engine, it's going to end up being longer and keyword stuffed. And as you can see by the stats here, I'm actually surprised that this isn't more dramatic, but the shorter titles typically are the ones that end up ranking higher. It's not as big of a variance as I would think, because we've been playing around with this ourselves and found that the shorter titles are definitely working better. And something that's readable, more importantly, the number of characters is even more important. So we've been focusing on 2 to 3 keywords at most in our title and trying to rank for those things versus trying to rank for every freaking thing. You just have a better chance there. And you can also see, again, numbers don't lie. The stats are that a shorter title ends up winning. So some final thoughts that are really important here. Again, sales velocity is the cure for all. Like, you can have the most ugly listing. It doesn't really matter. If it's converting and making sales, that is what matters. Product giveaways and discounted products, are they effective? Product giveaways have been very effective for us as far as Amazon's giveaway system. I I'm still the jury's out on the discounted product thing, because if you have if you're getting sales, if you're getting conversions, it definitely will help your rankings. But once you stop doing the discounted products, it can kind of all evaporate pretty quickly if you aren't working on your fundamentals. So it's a short-term fix in the beginning, but it can definitely hide some systemic issues with your listing. So we've all but stopped doing this for the most part, but it is still a pretty valid strategy offering discounted products. You also end up not getting verified reviews, by the way, if you're doing deep discounts. Sending external traffic to listings is definitely important. That came out in some of this undercover stuff that's been sent out about the A9 algorithm. It's something that we had discovered before we learned about that, just by accident, because Colorit has such a large social presence. We have over 100,000 people on our social networks aggregated, plus 50,000 on a messenger list and another 100,000 email list. So like when we and we also work with a bunch of influencers. So there's a bunch of traffic coming from YouTube. So what we noticed is as Colorit was expanding its reach with all this stuff, that the external traffic going to those listings definitely helps. But you can't just game the system. You can't like just send a bunch of traffic. It has to also convert. But that traffic, that outside traffic for us, because it's legitimate, ends up converting at a higher rate than the average. So it actually, for us, really, really helps. Again, you don't want to just go to a bot farm and start sending a bunch of outside traffic. That in itself is not going to work. And the last thing here is just focusing on the long term, not the short term risky wins. Again, you want to have a listing that's going to be able to survive long term. So doing giveaways and just in discounted products and things of that nature, or black hat, super URLs and all this other crap that people are talking about, aren't necessary, and they only work in the short term. Again, I mean, once you take your foot off that gas pedal of doing that black hat stuff, the listing's going to plummet because you're no longer falsely propping it up. So for me and for Dave, I know he feels the same way. We've taken an approach of the long term, like building legitimately better products, developing legitimately better packaging, developing legitimately better listings with really high-end photography and things of that nature, making sure that the product doesn't get returned a lot and other things that affect it, that it's going to hopefully have a high review, star ranking and stuff like that. That's the stuff that seems to be working for us. So that's it for this. We are going to get to an open Q&A. So if you have any questions and answers, I see a bunch of them in here. But before we answer the Q&A, we did want to take a moment and talk about Ecom Crew Premium. It is enrollment time for that. We'd be remiss if we didn't do a little sales pitch here at the end of the webinar. And again, we'll get to all the questions. But this is the last time the Ecom Crew Premium is going to be open through the rest of the year. What you get with Ecom Crew Premium are 4 complete courses. There's how to launch a new #1 bestseller on Amazon. We talk about a lot of stuff we just talked about in this video, and a whole bunch more of how to get outside traffic and build a list and things like that, and do it the white hat way. Our newest products that we just launched on Amazon, again, our new #1 bestsellers. We were just looking at this morning. We have that awesome orange banner, and we did everything 100% white hat. There was no discounts or coupons or any of that crap. So that course goes into that. We have a course on Facebook Messenger for e-commerce. Facebook Messenger is like kind of the next big thing in technology, and I think it's going to be around for a very long time to come. And the sooner you hop on the bandwagon, the cheaper and easier it will be to grow your list. It'll just get progressively more difficult over time. So that course is our newest one. We have a course on importing from China. So if you are looking to import from China, or really just anywhere in the world, it doesn't have to just be China, but China is obviously the biggest one. We go over how to do importing, and there's I'll show you some of the stuff in there as well. And then we have how to build a 7-figure brand. But I think that the pre-recorded courses are just a small part of what we do. The biggest stuff is the unlimited 24/7 email support. So you can send us an email at any time. We usually get back within 1 to 2 business days. You can ask any questions you have. It doesn't have to be something that's in one of our courses. It's completely open. We did this new subscription thing now earlier this year where it isn't like, oh, you didn't buy the messenger course, so we can't answer that question. It's any questions you have about anything to do with e-commerce or even in life in general. If you want to ask those questions, we'll answer them. We also have bi-monthly, it says weekly here, but I guess it's
Bi-weekly.
bi-monthly. Bi-weekly is
Bi-weekly is every 2 weeks.
isn't that twice a week? I don't know. We do it twice a month. We'll say it that way. I always get this confused. But once a month, we do an open Q&A, which is going to be tomorrow. So if you join Ecom Crew Premium Day, you'll be able to access tomorrow's webinar. It's just like this, but it's just open Q&A about anything. We do that for our premium members. And we also have another one we've renamed now to our Secret Sauce webinar because it's not just us showing behind the scenes of our brands anymore, but we brought in subject matter experts that go over some really cool stuff. Last month was how to build from 0 to 100,000 fans on Facebook, like really quickly, cheaply, and effectively. And we had a guest come on and show their exact page and how they did everything step by step. It was pretty damn awesome. We also include vendor lists and service list swipe files, photography templates, ClickFunnels templates, and a bunch of other stuff. And you also get access to our Facebook group. So anyway,
maybe before you end though, we can just do a little walkthrough of Premium, Mike, on the back end.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely do that. If you go to ecomcrew.com/premium, use the code last chance. It's 50% off. It's our Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal. And the price is going up significantly next year.
Maybe I'll overtake your screen and I'll just do a quick little walkthrough because I already
have it. I already have it open.
Okay.
I just need to figure out how to find that window, which is.
By the way, Mike, I looked it up. So bi-weekly, appearing or taking place every 2 weeks or twice a week. Oh, could be two different definitions there, according to Merriam's.
You were so happy, and then you're like, oh, whoops.
We're both right.
They're both right. There you go. So this is a actual login to Ecom Crew Premium. So what you have in here, this My Ecom Crew thing's actually the original stuff we put out, all the free content. So as a premium member, you get access to this as well. But this is actually a free area. So, but where the stuff gets really good is down here. Let me make that go away. Excuse me. So we have, again, the 4 courses I mentioned, starting a 7-figure brand, importing from China. Like if I go into this course as for instance, we have all these resources and stuff here. As I was mentioning, vendor lists, worksheets. So I mean, if you're looking for, let's see what we have here, product specs. So there's a doc you can give manufacturers. These are all of our vendors for 3PLs, for importers and things of that nature, customs brokers, niche evaluation worksheets, a Excel file that you can put together, evaluate a niche, cost calculators, sample purchase order you can send to your manufacturers. I have all the T's and C's on there that you should be sending off, things of that nature. And it's just, it's all modular. So, we try to keep the videos to 10 to 15 minute chunks so you can kind of consume them at your own pace and it doesn't get overwhelming. It's pretty in depth. There's a ton of modules on each course. The new one here is on Facebook Messenger. Again, same type of format where we have swipe files. We've actually really upped our game as far as production value on this stuff. It actually looks like some professionals put this together. I don't know how this ended up on Ecom Crew, but it's just step by step how to do all this stuff, and it's pretty cool stuff. And then again, we have some swipe files here to we include everything for you. All the messenger content, even terms and conditions that we spent thousands of dollars having our lawyer put together for contests and giveaways, all that stuff's in here as a part of that. And then I also wanted to show you real quick, this premium area here has even more stuff. So we also put in here, Dave and I both speak at a lot of industry events. All of our talks that are recorded, which is the bulk of them now, we put in here so you can see all of our talks. People pay $1,000 or $2,000 to go to these events. You get to see our talks for free. All the webinars that we do are in here. So the one I was talking about here from Dave Huss, where he built that 100,000 Facebook Messenger, a Facebook fan page, that was here. We had Joe Valley come on last month about buying and selling businesses. There was a lot of really intriguing stuff of things to be thinking about years in advance before selling your business. All those, they're all recorded in here, all the Q&As and everything. are all in here, and some other stuff as well. So there's quite a bit of stuff in here. And then also there is the Facebook group, which is right here. Just pull that up. So here's Ecom Crew Premium, and we're getting a dozen posts or so a day. People coming in here introducing themselves if they have any questions. So I mean, obviously we can answer your question on the Facebook group, but the cool thing is you get a lot of other people that are e-commerce sellers themselves that are also responding to this stuff. So I mean, it's not just Mike and Dave asking questions and things of that nature. There's other people in here doing that as well. So
yeah, and I think that's a big thing where we're trying to separate ourselves is we have the full length courses which pay for Ecom Crew Premium and themselves, but the big thing that we're trying to do is offering those bi-weekly, so every 2 week webinars, not twice a week, but every other week we do a webinar, so Q&A, and then having an expert come in, and then like Mike talked about, doing 24/7 email support, and also helping people throughout the Facebook group as well. So that's a big thing where we're trying to separate ourselves too, is being a little bit more hands-on than simply developing a course and putting it up there and then forgetting about it. So we are involved in this on a day-to-day basis, and holding your hand if you need it every step of the way, or being more hands-off, whichever you prefer.
all right, so again, you can go to ecomcrew.com/premium, and registration does close in a couple days through the end of the year. We've been doing it that way because we get a ton of email questions when people first join. So we try to make sure that we are home and around during the times that we do launches, and not in Hong Kong or something when it's tough to get on the internet. All right,
this is the most important part, and last chance coupon code for 50% off.
50% off.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a bunch of questions in here. If you guys have any other questions to think of as we're going through this, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. Oh man, I don't know if I can pronounce this name. I can't do it. Vojkan. I don't want to butcher it, but if you could.
Gavrilovich.
Yeah, and the last name's even more difficult. But I answered the question. A newbie question: what is the difference between being indexed for a certain keyword and being ranked for the same keyword, and how to be indexed and ranked for that keyword? So if you're not indexed, you can't rank. So that's kind of like one of the same. So if you do that indexing trick, you can see, if you're having a hard time ranking for something, for instance, or even before you start having a hard time, you should, when you're first setting up your listing, you should make sure that you're actually being indexed for those keywords. If you aren't being indexed, then you have no prayer of ranking. It basically means that Amazon is not recognizing you for that keyword. So it's really important to make sure when you create new listings that you're being indexed for the keywords that you want to rank for ultimately. So you can identify any problems early on. Or if you have old listings that are having problems, you can do that with this as well. So it's just that's a test. It's an A/B test. Like, am I ranking for running shoes, or I'm sorry, am I indexed for running shoes? Like, ASIN plus running shoes. Okay, yes, I am indexed. Now I know I can rank. If I am not indexed and I'm like, oh crap, I need to go back and look at my listing or the keywords in my back end. Is it in my title? Then it's an email to Amazon support and telling them the problem and seeing if they can fix it. And we've had pretty good luck with that type of stuff. So, but it's important to make sure that absolutely that you are being indexed. So thank you for the question. Hopefully that is helpful. We have an anonymous attendee. Nonsense, you should put your name in here. We love meeting people. Let us know who you are. We'd love to know your name. But we'll answer your question anyway. You'll probably get to this later. What is the best PP strategy when starting out? Dave, do you mind looking up the podcast episode number that we did about?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Amazon PPC. It really gets into, it's like a 30-40 minute step-by-step guide on how to set up Amazon PPC. But overall, the best strategy is to make sure that you have it ready to go on day one, that your budgets are high, and that you're keeping an eye on the data that's coming out of it. But for me, when we're launching, it's not about profitable sales. It's about the long term, as we're talking about. So it's about getting sales, getting rankings, getting reviews, and then worry about the profitability later. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Anonymous.
Yeah.
Bruce Hoffman, Ecom Crew Premium member. Do you want to repeat highly important keywords much in your listing? No. Putting it in there multiple times does not help at all, regardless if it's in the back end keywords or in the title. in the bullet points or description. They're weighted. So the title's more important than the bullet points, and the bullet points are more important than the description. But putting it in all three places does not help you. And putting it in there multiple times does not help you.
Yeah, if you refer even back to the definition Amazon gives of ranking, they do not mention anything about frequency. They mention location, but not frequency.
And in location, we were talking about title, bullet points, description, but also location. As Dave mentioned in one of his slides, the closer it is to the front of the title, the more important it is. So it's weighted by that as well. All right, Dusty says, if you have any input on how this info applies to a new seller on an existing listing, would you mind sharing a little? Not only for ranking the product, but trying to own the buy box, i.e. wholesale arbitrage on an existing listing.
So if he's selling somebody else's products.
I don't know that this really applies to that, because like someone else controls the listing, meaning the photographs and the title and all that. The buy box stuff is typically determined by price. So there's some, if you're selling on a competitive listing that already has other people selling on it, whether or not you get the buy box is determined by what you're selling it for. So, again, all things being equal, if you have the cheapest price, you'll get the buy box more than the next guy. But other factors matter as well, like your seller ranking. So if you're a brand new seller, you'll get a disproportionately smaller portion of the buy box until you start building the health of your account. But the most important thing is price. So that's why these repricers have come out. And what they basically do is automatically lower the price if someone else lowers their price. But you can get in a pretty quick war of we're both selling it for a penny. So you got to be careful about how aggressive you get with a repricer. But you have very little control over how things are ranking, because it is not your listing. So you're kind of at the mercy of whoever else put that product up there before you. So there's not much.
And Jesse's mentioning if it doesn't have EBC, if it's not brand registered, then you can make changes. That's true. Your contributions won't always win out.
Right.
They will a lot of the times. Yeah, it's a big can of worms. Trying to optimize basically somebody else's listing. But I mean, theoretically, most of the things that we've talked about here do apply. But realistically, it's better to develop your own products, just because then you do have more control. That's probably not the answer you're looking for, but in the long term, that's definitely a more ideal world, is to have your own products, and then you do have absolute control.
Yep. All right, Mike G says, I just launched the product 10 days ago, and I'm finding higher converting keywords through PPC that are not in my listing. Should I change the title? Whoops, that just moved on me. Should I change the title, bullets, etc., to improve relevancy for these high converting keywords? If so, how soon? So in my opinion, yes, you should absolutely change your title, change your listing around. I think that 10 days is more than enough time to start looking at this data. So basically what Mike is saying is he's running an automated campaign, most likely. This is something we talked about in this PPC episode as well. So you're running an automated campaign. You go through and look at what are the keywords that are actually making sales through PPC. You'll spend a ton of money on PPC, but a lot of it will just be the stuff that gets you zero sales. But what will happen is certain terms will percolate to the top and be the ones that actually make you sales and end up making you money. And so what you want to do is use that data to your advantage and go, okay, first of all, I'm going to make a manual campaign for these keywords, because they're converting. So you can manually bid on them. You can bid more for those keywords typically than if they're in an automated campaign. But also you want to change your listing around, change the title of your listing to include those keywords that are producing sales through PPC. Amazon's giving you the data. It's like this kind of like no-brainer thing where it's working through PPC. It's absolutely going to work through organic. And you want to, again, try to rank for as many high-power organic terms as you can. So the PPC data is almost always going to mirror what will be successful in organic. And I would absolutely make those changes and then go back and rinse and repeat a couple times as this process goes along. But I think 10 days is enough time to start making that move, Mike. Sergey, how to add variations to existing listings, merging, and how can it affect rankings? So you can add, sorry?
That's a can of worms, the whole variation games.
Yeah, it is. Do we have a post about that?
No, nothing yet.
Okay, so I mean, this can take a very long time to explain. So I'll try to hit it at a high level. Um, you can absolutely add variations to listings. You can do it through by adding a new parent listing and then adding the children to it, and just you can even take two existing products and make them variations. There's all kinds of things you can do to group variations. Some advantages. The biggest advantage of doing a variation is that the reviews pull. And they stopped doing this on certain categories, but I think they put it all back now. So if you have 3 different products with 10 reviews each, when people go to your listing that has variations, they'll see 30 reviews. So this is quite helpful. The downside to doing variations is that, number one, only one of the variations can rank for any particular keyword. So if you had 3 variations that all had a chance of ranking on the first page and you get 30%, or let's say 15% of the real estate, let's say there's 20 results, you can have 15% or 5% of the real estate on a search result. That's more powerful than just having one listing on there. But there's a lot of situations where that isn't possible. So it kind of depends. One of the other downsides that we found of having variations, if people have more choices, they end up buying, you kind of have like this filtered effect. So you have like 100 sales, and one of them is going to be the most popular. Let's say it gets 70 sales, and then the other 30 like trickle down to these other 2 variations. Well, what would happen if you got rid of these 2 variations? Would you end up with 95 sales of the main product? And if so, even though you have 5 less overall sales in a vacuum, what will happen is you'll end up with 150 sales down the road, because again, your conversion rate will be higher on that one variation. And we did this as an experiment with one of our, what's now become our best-selling product. It used to have 6 variations. Now it has 1, and it used to not rank anywhere near the way that it does now. So when we got rid of the variations, there was some short-term pain of slightly fewer sales. The long-term was a multitude higher than what we were doing before. You can also you also mentioned merging. So you can take 2 disparate things and merge them into one. Some of it's a little bit against rate. There's some stuff you can do. So hopefully, Sergey, that helps at a high level, kind of answer some variations in existing listing.
We can dive, Sergey, I know you're a part of Premium too. If you attend tomorrow's Q&A, we can dive into that a little bit more too.
Yeah, and if you will have any more clarifications or finer points you want us to point out, we're happy to definitely do that tomorrow on Premium.
Sergey might be scuba diving tomorrow though, so.
I wish I was scuba diving. Robin, any way we can find out conversion? Oh gosh, this thing's so dumb. It's when someone types in a new Q&A, it like bops down to the bottom and puts them, wants to make them first. Any way we can find out conversion rate in a particular category to compare against our own product conversion rate, so we know it. So basically, you can. It was just a little typo there. But basically, what Robin's asking is there a way to find out what the conversion rate is amongst your competitors in the category, so you can compare your conversion rate to them? Not in a white hat way. That information is not public, but Dave, if you want to drop a link, I don't know if we're actually able to share this or not in the non-premium area. I don't know, but there are services that get you this data. They're basically stealing it from Amazon. There's Chinese employees at Amazon that will carry the data out on a USB drive basically and give you this information for your category. It's basically impossible to get caught because you're not the one actually doing it. And I don't know that Amazon would ever know that you have this data, but that's the only way to get it that I'm aware of. Jason says, how do you add video using enhanced brand content? We are brand registered in Amazon, but not sure how to add the video. So you do it in the same screen. Let me just pull that up real quick. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Take a note here real quick. Give you the exact, of course I'm not signed in, 1 second.
I can simply share a screenshot too if you want, Mike.
That's fine. Like I know it's under enhanced brand content, and then there's like an option to put the ASIN in, and it lets you add a video.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's advertising menu, then enhance brand content, and then you're going to go to enter a SKU up and create. So it says create an enhanced product description or upload your product videos. So you'll enter in the SKU, not the ASIN, but it's your internal SKU number. And after you enter in the SKU number, it'll give you the option to create enhanced product description. There's also a second button that says add video. And you'll add the video there, upload it. It has to meet certain criteria and parameters to get approved. They do manually look at it. It takes between 1 day and 1 week typically to get approved, but we've had pretty much no problem getting them approved because we follow the guidelines. But that's how you add it.
I shared a screenshot there too for anybody else wondering. They do kind of bury it within the enhanced brand content menu, but easy to get to once you know where to go.
Carol, hope you're doing well, Carol. Since enhanced brand content is not indexed, should we also put a bunch of keyword phrases into the product description box in the edit product screen so they won't show but will be indexed? Yeah, you can definitely do that. We do that, but the description is the least prioritized field. So it's, I believe the order is title, backend keywords, bullets, then description. So you're better off stuffing your backend keywords field with keywords, but keep in mind that there is a pretty short limit on those now of 200 bytes. They keep on changing. What is it now, Dave?
For
backend keywords.
I can tell you off the top of my head, but yeah, I think it's 200 characters. I want to say too.
Yeah, I think that's what it is now. So
Corey mentioned something in the chat. Now I know up until earlier in the summer, for sure, EBC was not indexed. He mentioned we've built EBC and noticed keywords increased from 300 to 1,000 characters for products, giving us more sales and ranking for keywords that were never indexed. And he says we even tested by basically plug keywords into alt tags and various blocks, and they were indexed.
Yeah, definitely the alt tag thing is another really good one. I agree. Yeah.
So alt tags indexed, description text in EBC, maybe some debate there whether it's indexed or not.
So it might be indexed now. But I mean, again, I think that people overstuff things with too many keywords. So just keep that in mind. Dusty says, I'm a new premium member. Welcome to premium, my friend. So this is probably covered. Does it make a difference if you send the external traffic straight to your product or if you go through an Amazon Associates link first? It does not matter. Almost all of our traffic comes through an Associates link, whether it's ours or one of our influencers. Terrence, if you could only do one thing right above all us to succeed on Amazon, what would it be? I would say the photography for sure. Like put the money and effort into the photography. Everything else is incremental, like small stuff. The photography will leapfrog your results. Thank you for the question. Gary, should I follow the Amazon style guide for listing category? I'm not sure what the Amazon style guide is. Do you know what that is, Dave?
Sorry, I was on mute there.
No worries.
I think by style guide, he means that, for example, if you're uploading a CSV, there's a million different categories there of information that you can upload. You know, things like what gender it's suited for, dimensions, this, that, and the other thing. All those other fields that you can update within a CSV file, or even doing it through the web browser, don't seem to matter that much in terms of ranking and indexing, at least in my experience. The only big one is category.
Hopefully that answers your question, Gary. If it doesn't, just let us know and we'll be happy to circle back around. Tony is asking, do you get the 30-day hall pass with variations? Absolutely, yes. Brad, any idea on how much of a bump you get in the first 30 days of a new listing? Are we talking 10 to 20% or more like a 35%? So it's not exactly like that, Brad. It's not really a bump like that in the first 30 days. That's not exactly the right way to put it. I'm not sure the exact way. It's like one of these things I have in my mind, but I can't quite articulate it. when you have a new listing, you haven't established any stats yet, right? So you don't have any good, bad, or indifferent trend. So you get a pass around that, and it's going to use, as Dave was saying, it's going to use the fundamentals of your listing over those stats. So again, if you your title's got the keywords in it and description's good, bullet points, etc., and you're starting to develop some early stats with conversion rates, it's a much shorter window of time that you have to be able to like move the needle. So like it's not as difficult as it will be after you've established the first 30 days, the honeymoon period is over. Now they've established this rolling moving average, and it'll be much more difficult to overcome that. So it's not, it's definitely not a bump. It's not one of these things where like, it's because it's new, you're going to outrank all your competitors, and then the day after that 30 days, you no longer outrank them. That's not exactly how that works. And hopefully that answers your question. Another anonymous attendee, how do you determine which keyword to rank for when you first launch your item? So this is kind of like one of these things you just kind of develop a feel for over a long period of time of doing this, just kind of a gut feel. Like I'm looking at, first of all, Dave made a really good point. You want to do some of this research up front before you even start figuring out what products you want to launch. So you know some of the long tail stuff you have a chance of ranking for. You don't want to be going after the head term. So once you determine that, again, for me, I'm trying to go after, if there's a scale of 1 to 10, of 10 being the big head term that gets all the traffic and it's the toughest one to rank for, and 1 being like something that doesn't get searched very much, I'm going after like 5 and 6s to start with, if that makes sense. So it's things that are achievable where I actually have a chance of ranking for them, getting those rankings established, getting those consistent sales established, and then working on the 7 and 8s, and then eventually, if I can, rank for the 10s, doing that. I mean, we've had some success being able to do that in some really competitive categories. One of them is gel pens. I mean, we rank something like number 6 for the term gel pens, which is about one of the most competitive things on Amazon. So it is doable. But we started first by ranking for coloring pen, gel pens for adult coloring books, gel pens for coloring, glitter gel pens, these other types of terms first is what we went after, and established the baseline, and then shot for them in. Hopefully that's helpful. Jason says, hey guys, Jason here. Have you guys tested using different title lengths for different categories? Amazon states to use a 50 character length in general. Seems a bit short to fit tough keywords in. So we're in one category that anything new that we do, they won't let us put more than 50 categories in, which is sports. It's really flipping frustrating because 50 characters is basically nothing, especially once you add your brand name in there, which is required. And one of the brands that we sell exclusively for is Pro Ice Cold Therapy Products, is like the name of their brand, because they were dumb and got the trademark for that. So it's frustrating. The question is, have I tested using different title links? Yes, we have tested it, but not necessarily for different categories. We've just been testing, playing with titles with Splitly. And what we found is that, again, the more readable, shorter titles seem to do better than the long stuffed keyword titles. Hopefully that helps you answer your question. Kaloon, I think is how you would pronounce that. Let me know if I got that right. Which field is the start date, start selling date, offer release date, launch date, or release date? I personally can never figure this out, so I just put it in every flipping one of them. But I know my staff knows because they're the ones that end up doing it. I can get back to you on that. If you shoot us an email to support@ecomcrew.com, I'll get you the exact answer to that.
It's definitely one of the latter two. It's either launch date or release date. I want to say release date. The other two, they're just simply a sale date, but I believe it's release date.
I know my staff knows that they've been doing it, and I can actually say I'm happy that I don't know the answer to that because I don't have to deal with it. All right, Bruce is asking, after you rank well for keyword, you have prioritized in putting your title. Do you ever change your title to help improve rankings? Yes, we've kind of covered that already, but yes, absolutely. Tony, what about key phrase, garlic press, stainless steel garlic press, etc.? Is it worth repeating those? No, do not repeat them. Especially in the title. I would just put stainless steel garlic press, and that would be there's zero advantage to repeating them in the back end keywords. So you would not do it in the back end. Any views on keyword density? Again, does not matter. Keyword density does not help you or hurt you. So I think it hurts you by doing a higher keyword density because you have more things for people to read, and it doesn't read naturally if you're constantly saying the same thing over and over again. Tony says, hey guy, great stuff as always. Do you have a VA from FreeUp, Upworks, Fiverr, etc. that you recommend to set up my mini chat with Facebook? I find it confusing to set up myself. I don't know if you're a premium member or not, Tony, but if you are, we have that mini chat course that goes through step by step. So it should take all the confusion out. I mean, literally we go through everything step by step, and there's guides and everything on how to do that. If not, and if you're not a premium member or you're not ready to join, which is totally fine. ManyChat themselves has a great guide on how to set up Facebook Messenger. It's Molly Pittman wrote it. A friend of mine. She's awesome, incredibly smart. She used to work for Digital Marketer, now owns a part of ManyChat, and put out an amazing free course on that. So I would use that as a secondary resource. Robin asks, does changing your title affect your ranking for previous search terms that you already ranked for? Yes, this is the the mindfuck was the word I was coming up with. There's probably a nicer way to put that, but one of these things that will definitely screw with your head. What I call like getting concrete boots. Once you have something that ranks for something, you're scared to change anything because what happens if, right? But what I found is that like you can recover. It's not like Google where it's hard to recover from some of this stuff. Sometimes if you make a change to your title and you find that your conversion rate's dropping for a particular keyword because of that, you can put it back and the rankings will come back. It might take a few weeks, but the rankings will come back. So the penalty is pretty small for and the gain is very high. If you start making some changes to the title that help you start ranking for additional keywords, the reward can be pretty good. So I think it's definitely worth doing, Robin. Anonymous attendee, can I add a video to my listing even if I'm not brand registered, waiting for my trademark to be application result? The answer is no. You have to be brand registered 2.0 to do video. And by the way, not every brand registered 2.0 account has video there. Sometimes you have to ask for it. It just takes an email to seller support. We had to actually ask for it. All my friends were getting it and I didn't have it yet. And I emailed them and they turned it on within like a day or two. But it is there for most people from what I've seen. I just don't know why it wasn't there for us. Does your brand need to be trademark free to participate in the early reviewer program? I do not believe so. Do you know that for sure, Dave?
There's been some controversy. I don't think it does. I've heard people mention that it does, but I know we were enrolled in it earlier in the year before we got brand registered, and yeah, we don't need brand registry. And I don't think that you do right now. I think anybody who's saying to the contrary is probably misspoken.
I'm like 99% sure because we have a brand that does not have a trademark yet, and we are in the early review program, and I know it works. So I actually am more like 100% sure now because like I can think of specific products we've done this for that I know have gotten early reviewer reviews because I just saw them the other day. Carol, I thought first slide said description was most important. I noticed because it surprised me. I don't think so, Carol. I don't know if that was there. It was definitely a typo, but description is definitely not the most important factor. You can go back and look at the slides real quick, Dave. I don't think that's...
how often the keyword appears in the description, where the keyword appears, blah, 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 blah. And how often customers purchase the product. I see where you're confused, Carol. I don't think Amazon they're not placing any weight on where they've kind of phrased that explanation of ranking. So they mention description first. I don't think that means that they're ranking description first. They're just saying it in their definition first.
Yep. Cullen's asking, is volumetrics.io a free Chrome extension? Yes, it is. And it's awesome.
Crane, who developed it, is also a premium member.
Yes, which is pretty cool. Jared's saying, you mentioned discounted launches potentially being a net negative. Can you talk a bit more about that as it relates to ranking early on? So the reason that we stopped doing it is because I think it's ranking manipulation. Amazon says that ranking manipulation is against terms of service. And these discounted launches are just so obviously ranking manipulation. And so for me, like, I wanted a long-term strategy that like doesn't have to rely on this. So for me, it was more about that. It's definitely not a moral issue. I really can care less if we use something like that to rank, because I don't think, we have a good product I know people are going to be happy with, so I take solace in that. But for me, it's the long-term repercussions if Amazon lowers the boom hammer on people and their listings that had a bunch of coupons, and these people are create a very obvious footprint, especially if you're using something like Rebate Key or one of these other platforms that help you with these discounted launches. So for me, I don't like doing it, but it does work. People in the $1 Million Seller Group are talking about this all the time. It's still kind of a part of like the standard operating procedure for most of these guys. But again, I think for me, the net negative is like when you get rid of that and you then like let the listing kind of like rank on its own accord, it's going to settle out where it's going to settle out anyway. If you have a crappy listing or a listing that's not converting as well as your peers, there's nothing that can fix that except working on that particular issue. So we just like work on that from day one and focus on that, even though it does take a little bit longer sometimes to get things to rank and to see results. I don't have to worry about one day like one of these, because what ends up happening when like one of these boom hammer type things come out, they cast a very wide net and you get caught up in the crossfire. And I just don't want to be in that situation. Like we have too much to lose to put ourselves in that situation. So for me, it's just been a decision around that, but it does work. So if you have a smaller account and you're just kind of getting started and you want to get some results, I think that, it's fine. But for us, we have an almost $10 million business that if Amazon were to, pull out the shotgun and start, aiming and firing, we don't want to be caught up in that mess. It's just too much to risk.
There's a big difference between offering your current customers a 10% discount coupon code to buy on Amazon and then offering a 99% PayPal rebate after they've purchased.
Behind the scenes, like, so you get full price sales, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it works. And so do super URLs, but we stay away from all that stuff. It's clearly ranking manipulation. I know in my heart that what I'm doing is wrong in terms of Amazon's rules. So I only have myself to blame when I get caught. Tony's asking, how much do you vary text content for variations? I know titles are locked for all variations on some categories. So it just depends on, we do have some products still that have variations, and it just depends on the product. If it's just simply a size difference, we don't really change things around. I guess in theory that if you put vastly different titles and text and stuff in your variations, you could rank for different keywords for each variation. So there could be an argument for doing that, but that's not the reason that we create variations. We're creating variations because typically, like, our gloves are in multiple sizes. So we just, we're going after whatever keywords we're going after regardless. And we're not going to try to make each listing or each variation rank for a different keyword, but you could put some effort into that and give that a try. I think that's a valid hypothesis or whatever to go after. Louis says, I have a video of myself talking about my product, but when the video starts, it says my name and website URL in text at the bottom, but then fades away. Do you think Amazon will have a problem with the URL being in the video if I upload it to enhanced brand content? Would I be putting my account at risk or just getting declined if they don't approve? So you absolutely would not be putting your account at risk, but they absolutely will decline it.
Yeah.
They will watch the video, they see the URL, and you're just wasting your time. You have a 0% chance of getting it through.
Yeah, you have to almost have two videos, one for Amazon and one that for Facebook or wherever.
Yeah.
The only thing where you can kind of sneak in is if you do a giveaway with Amazon, they don't care what you have in the video. So that's a good way to get people off Amazon and TOS compliant. Wow, we just through 30 questions.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Someone raised their hand. I think I just, there we go. Robin says, does subject matter fields affect the A9 logic? Yes. We've tried to fill in all that stuff in the back end. Absolutely does make a difference. It's, again, one of these, like all things being equal things like this, it makes a difference, but it's a small percentage, right? It's like a sub 1% difference, but it definitely makes a difference. Again, if you're in a highly competitive field, if you have a 1% edge over somebody, that could be the thing that makes you rank higher than them. And typically, like ranking higher than somebody increases your conversion rate even more, which makes you rank even higher. So this is all like that flywheel effect. So it's like these little small incremental improvements make a big difference in the long run. What do you place in the subject matter field? So we'll stuff it with some keywords. Color palette, for instance, on the gel pens. We'll say 48 glitter gel pens. Something like that, just as a random example of where we're stuffing some, so we're legitimately answering the question or putting the right answer in the subject matter field, but we might embellish a little bit and add one or two extra words that may not be 100% necessary to answer the question, but also gets the keyword in there, if that makes sense. Man, we had a lot of questions. I love this, man. It's fun. But I think we reached the end of the rainbow. Any other, there was some stuff that looked like it was going through chat, but I couldn't keep track of that. If you guys have anything else you want to throw in the Q&A, it's easier for us to find it in there. What are Mike and Dave's specialty responsibility overall with Ecom Crew? We've settled into a pretty good routine of I'm mostly in charge of the podcast and Dave's mostly in charge of writing. Which works out great because I don't like writing and Dave doesn't like doing the podcast. So,
and I'm the looks, of course, and the brains, and
of course. I think we're both equally in charge of giving each other grief.
Well, I think you have more of the weight on your shoulders for that one.
But that's generally how that works, Terrence. And we both answer the support emails and the Facebook group as equally as we can. Man, we got a bunch of new questions flying in here. All right, one more, guys. Would you include brand name in the title? It's actually required now by TOS to have your brand name first thing in the title. So we've been doing that electively for most of our products now because Amazon, in a lot of cases, is doing it for us, whether we like it or not. So you should get in the habit of doing that. Scott says not anonymous anymore. Scott Isley here. Welcome to our webinar, my friend. Terrence says, how do you delegate who answers questions when contacted by premium members? Most things Dave and I can answer, either one of us, but that we have a little assign. We use Help Scout, which is a great piece of software. We use it for everything in our business. So if there's something that I feel like Dave would be better at answering, a lot of those things for me are, he lives in Canada, so he can answer a lot of these Canadian specific questions. As a, for instance, he's worked with oversized items more than I have, things of that nature. So I'll assign those types of things to him. And I'm sure Dave has some things that he'd rather have me answer, so he'll assign those things to me, but that's how we handle it.
Yeah, and if somebody prefers to speak to one of us, just mention it in your subject line or your title, and we will assign it to whoever you want.
I think you should ask for Dave. It's less work for me. Louis says, does Ecom Crew Premium have an Amazon PPC course? It does not, but that is one that we're adding in 2019. And we also have that episode on the podcast. And if you have any questions as a premium member, you can ask us any questions you want. And including on the Q&A that we do, we can go through and spend some significant amount of time on that if you want.
And I think kind of what we're probably going to do regards to PPC is, because a lot of people have asked for it, we'll probably do an expert's secret sauce webinar going into detail about PPC and setting it up, and doing the live Q&A. And then probably later in the year, using kind of the webinar feedback as a backbone, then we will develop a full length course, hopefully around that at some point in 2019.
Yep. So one last time, here is Ecom Crew Premium landing page, ecomcrew.com/premium. It'll take you to this link. There's all kinds of information here about this, but the code at the bottom, we have a long landing page, man.
Not as long as some.
I know. This was a fun video we recorded. This is a premium member, Anthony, that we met when we were in Montreal, and we went out and had lunch with him, and he was nice enough to record us a little testimonial afterwards. But that was I just saw that. That was a fun day when we were hanging out there in Montreal. But down here at the bottom is the pricing. So the last chance code will give you 50% off these prices. And this is the new pricing for next year. So, and this is the only time of the year that we offer any discounts. This has actually become quite a bit of work for us, just answering all these emails and stuff. We put a lot of effort, as you can see, just as much effort into our premium members as we do into these webinars and things of that nature. So it's a lot of time, a lot of personal attention. I think it's the best deal in e-commerce personally, but I'm a little biased. But if you are in a position to join, we'd love to have you. If not, definitely check out the free stuff at ecomcrew.com/free. All right, guys, I think that's the end of the price will not go up for those who sign up already. Heather, we lock in old pricing for anybody. We don't do stuff like that. So if you're already a member, you will. If you're a monthly member, you'll continue to have the same monthly price. And if you want to upgrade to annual, now would be the time to do it, because you can upgrade at the discount. If you're already an annual member, then you'll keep your old pricing. I think that's it, guys. Awesome webinar today from the perspective of Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed the content part, but I love the Q&A stuff. It's so much fun interacting with so many different e-commerce peeps out there. So thank you guys for joining. If there's anything that you want to rewatch, everybody that was in the webinar will get the recordings. Abby will email that out later this week. And of course, it'll be a part of Ecom Crew Premium. All the other webinars that we do that are private, even if you join now, you can still see all the old ones and go back and watch those. They're really good, especially the one with Dave and Joe. Those were awesome. So want to wish you guys a happy holiday season. If you're in the U.S., a belated happy Thanksgiving. And definitely good luck through the Christmas holiday season here. We had a record Cyber Monday, so I'm still a little bit high from that. It was a pretty awesome day. And this time of year, it's crazy. I just have to emotionally set myself up not to be let down. December 26th. That's it's hard to go back to the way things are most of the year. I find that I have like a hangover for like in January. It just like all the sales go back to normal.
You need to start selling seasonal items, Mike. So be in a field like us where spring is kind of our kick off to the season.
Yeah, we actually do have that with ice wrap stuff. But the color stuff just sells so flipping well in December. We were looking at some of this stuff. Our December is 3.6x October, and October is like just an average month. So I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, it's not as nuts as some people. I mean, so it's at least plannable, and we can get our heads around it. But it definitely makes a cash flow crunch in October. That's for darn sure. As you're ordering all these products and getting them here. And paying for them well in advance before they're for sale. And it's definitely stressful not knowing if it's going to be as good as it was last year and things like that. But every indication so far is that this year is going to be bigger for us than last, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
Our sales for the day so far, where they're usually at around 5 p.m. So it's another crazy day.
Drinks are on, Mike. If you guys roll out to Escondido.
If you're in San Diego today, I'll buy you a beer.
All right, guys.
Everyone. Appreciate it. Have a great one, everyone, and we'll see you at the next one.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.